Oscars 2025. 10 movies have been selected for Best Picture. We decided to watch all of them.
I'm here with Chicken Man right here. We're going to be reviewing each of these 10 movies today.
We'll be splashing up pictures on the screen. This is a bit rushed. This is going to come out after the Oscars. So it's not as exciting if it was before the Oscars, but unfortunately we're a bit of a time crunch. Our spoiler policy will be that we'll be including minor spoilers if we do want to include spoilers, but we'll tell you. Mostly we're just going to doing a generalization of each movie, just what we thought about it. What do you think with that?
I think that sounds like a good plan. So I think that this year is going to be a fun time for the Oscars.
I've got to mention, we're going to put timestamps throughout the video, so feel free to skip around. All right, without further ado, let's jump right into it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, let's get going. Let's do this.
Okay. Yeah, okay. This movie we're going to be talking about is Anora, directed by Sean Baker?
Sean Baker.
Yes. See, I remember off the top of my head, you see. Mikey Madison, Yuri Borisov, and a bunch of other people I can't really pronounce, including Vanya, the person who plays Vanya. Basically, she falls in love with this son of a Russian oligarch, and then they get married on a whim in Las Vegas, and that's not really a spoiler because that's what the plot of the movie is about. But then basically the rest of it is just the fallout of what happens, and class struggle, wealth struggle, life struggle, everything to do with that.
So I would say the first half of this movie, the first act of the movie is more of Mickey Madsen's character living in a fairy tale. She's getting everything that she's always wanted. Same with Vanya, her spouse, husband, right? Yeah, husband. But then as the plot developed, you get to meet more of Vanya's family, and some Russian henchmen get involved, and things get pretty crazy. One thing I will say, I'd say this movie it starts off with a romantic fairy tale, and then the tone and genre change completely.
Mikey Madison, this movie is absolutely amazing. Also the genre changing from I don't know, Parasite won what in 2020? 2020?
2019.
2019, sorry.
Still up to date, man.
Well, no, I was the Oscar of 2020.
Right.
I don't know what they counted by, the year before or whatever. I feel it crosses, it's a drama, but it's also I don't know, it's a commentary. And a lot of these Oscar movies we're going to be talking about do make a meaningful commentary on some aspect of life. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be picked. But it's just powerful. And this is the kind of movie that some movies, Jeremy Johns, the reviewer, he has that thing this is what I think about the movie. I forget about the movie T-minus in 10 days or T-minus a week or T-minus 3 days or something like that. It's just how long the movie stays in your mind. And some of the movies on this list didn't stay in my mind for that long. This movie was in my mind for at least a week after I watched it, which shows how memorable it is.
It's a movie that you don't always know what's going to happen next, and that's one of the things that kept us gripped throughout the runtime.
Just her screaming, yelling, and swearing is the most entertaining stuff ever. And then Yuri Borisov comes up with a surprising performance as supporting actor. I think he got nominated for supporting actor.
Igor?
Yeah, he played the character Igor,
yeah,
and Igor was he didn't talk much, but when he talked, it was it was something else. Everything that came out of his mouth. He's a chill guy. He's a chill guy.
Igor's such a cool
dude. Watch. There's no grand soundtrack, no grand cinematography even, but I feel it just doesn't need that because the writing is so good. For a story to have the writing be this good, it doesn't almost need all those other elements because it just stands on its own. Not saying any of the other stuff sucks because it's definitely good. It's just the story, the screenplay. If this story wins for anything, I don't know if it was nominated for screenplay. Do you know if it was?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it definitely deserves it for sure.
This would, I feel for screenplay, the writing, oh my god, it's just entertaining. And it's relatively straightforward too. It's not that complicated a plot, and it's not a movie for kids. No,
it does. Especially towards the end, it does hit you on a deeper level with some of the themes that it gets into.
Yeah, like I said, you're gonna be thinking about this movie a week after you watch it, and you'll be wow, that was
breaking stuff in there.
it's like it's funny at points, it's dramatic at points, but also this is a sad movie, guys. Like, I don't know, like, if you really think about it, like, oh my god. Anyways, good movie. What do you rate this?
I rate a 9 out of 10. Very good.
I was the same, 9 out of 10. I don't think I was going to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
It was like, but this is a very solid movie.
The Brutalist is a fictional story with some real historical themes of immigration, post-war feeling, and personal redemption. Directed by Brady Corbett, starring Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce. This 3.5-hour-long epic about a struggling architect makes its way into America against all odds is extremely mind-blowing. Adrian Brody plays a guy named Laszlo Toth. He's an immigrant from Europe after World War II. He has the talent, drive, and visionary genius for architecture, and he gets involved with a wealthy family trying to construct a large architectural
Guy Pearce is so scary, guys. He lives in this giant mansion. It's like, honestly, kind of like Anora, this movie is also about wealth, I think. But it's also about immigration and post-war trauma. Just like Guy Pearce represents the wealthy and the powerful. And the dynamic between him and Adrian Brody is just like really phenomenal. But it's like, it starts off like kind of nice, and then I won't give too much away about what happens. But he just like, he's just frightening, and but the way he talks in a voice like this. But like, he's like so intelligent to the point where it's like freaky. And I haven't seen Guy Pearce in that many things. I don't know if you saw him in Memento or anything like that. But
Iron Man 3.
Yeah, but no one remembers Iron Man 3, do they?
I've always been big on historical epics. I feel like last year we got our big one with Oppenheimer. And just like that movie, this one deserves to be seen on the big screen. We got the privilege to see in IMAX, 70 millimeter in New York. So, and I just one thing I remember is very interesting experience seeing this in theaters, because for one thing, there was also a 15-minute intermission, and the movie's like 3.5 hours long. But
and it might turn down some people to just the runtime in general. They might just see the runtime and they're like, I don't want to watch it. But I feel like that's not justified.
I liked is also the cinematography. And there was a scene very early on in the movie about it was like a long shot of Adrian Brody on a ship coming to America, and then it ends with this isn't really a spoiler because it happens. I mean, it's basically, if you ever see the poster of the movie, there's a poster of like the Statue of Liberty, but it's upside down. But remember that scene ends with that shot, and you hear all this grand music playing. Like, that was one of the things I remember the most. I was thinking like, this is gonna be a good one.
Also, the moon phases of Adrian Brody's beard is crazy. Like, it goes from like full to like back, from like little stubble into back and forth. So this movie uses artificial intelligence to make people's accents better. Now, Adrian Brody has discussed this, the controversy, saying that it didn't take any work away from people, like as an artificial intelligence thing. It just made their accents more authentic. And honestly, I kind of agree with him, even though I don't like artificial intelligence, because he's right. It didn't take work away from people, and it's an artistic choice. So I feel like we're in the modern age. It's the tools that we have at our disposal, so it's not a bad thing to use them if we're in this day and age. You know, like, what else are you going to do? If it enhances the art form, then it's a good thing. This movie had 10 nominations, not as much as Emilia Pérez, which we'll get to. But I think it definitely deserves. I don't know. I'm not gonna say Best Picture yet because we haven't like talked about all of the other movies. But
pick for sure.
It's a worthy pick because it's like a
historical epic.
The historical epic. I feel like that's like a strong candidate. That's a solid candidate on the basis for Best Picture. Better if it was shortened by like, I don't know, 15 minutes. But honestly, I was still so engrossed in everything that was happening that it wasn't even that much of a negative, if I'm being honest.
The way that the runtime is with the intermission, the first half of the movie and the second half of the movie, they split up the story pretty well, pretty evenly. Whereas I feel like after the intermission, kind of give you some time to sink into your thoughts everything that was happening, and then the next story was just like the next chapter.
And this is also an A24 film, so they got that to boast for it. But I don't have much else to say.
He comes across challenges and has to deal with problems with people who don't really understand his vision or what he's trying to do, and a lot of times he's not really sure if things are going to work out. There's budget problems, but he has to stick to what he thinks will work for him and because these are the things that will make his legacy and his work so important, will make it stand the test of time.
He deserves a 10 out of 10. but I probably enjoyed it 8 out of 10.
I would say probably like 9.5.
Complete Unknown, you already know half this content on this channel is about Bob Dylan. I already made a video about this topic that was also unscripted like this, but at least we have some footnotes, you know. That video was just me rambling, but if you want to watch it, it's right here. I'll put a link to it, or it'll be in the description. It's somewhere on my channel. You can watch it. But I will add some basic notes about A Complete Unknown. It's the Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet, as you know. It's one of those musical biopics that is actually better than a lot of musical biopics, and I'm not just saying that as a Bob Dylan fan. I'm saying that because it only stretches between 4 years of his life, so an isolated bubble of fiction, and it blends between myth and fiction, legend, as Bob Dylan, as the Dylanology often does. Chalamet leaned into the nonchalantness. He spent 5 years vocal lessons and playing the guitar, so like he did a really good job just playing Dylan and like just encapsulating what Dylan means and is. And also the good thing is that this movie introduces a lot of new viewers to the Dylan fandom, made you want to listen to Bob Dylan, which is not what some biopics don't like, make you want to listen to the artist, but this one really reels people in. Like my friend who had never, he always hears, this kid likes Bob Dylan, but then he watched the movie, he's like, I really like that, I really like Blowing in the Wind, I really like The Times They Are Changing. Granted, they're like the most like popular songs. It's a beautiful thing because Bill Dylan is part of like who I am as a person, so just seeing this and seeing other people enjoy the Dylan verse, if I can even call it that, is just something that's very entertaining.
Dylan is the fact that he
does what he wants.
Exactly. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. He's just going to do his own thing. I think that's another thing that they really they played heavily on in the movie, because I won't give too much away, but he does run into some trouble with people who don't always agree with the way that he's doing things, and then he's kind of just like, screw that, I'm going to do my own thing. And I mean, he did have support from like Johnny Cash and some other members who kind of be like, it's okay to get some dirt on the rug, here and there.
And Pete Seeger is really played by Edward Norton. Like, you can't even remember it's Edward Norton because he fits into the role so well. It represents this old archetype, this old generation of people, of styles of music, and he's saying like this movie is really about what it's like to be fit inside a box, artistically, and people telling you what you want to do, the audience like controlling what they want to hear, and just not living up to the expectations of what like you're supposed to play, what you're supposed to make art-wise. Like, it didn't show like certain things about like the London overseas tours and his wife Sarah and the motorcycle crash, but we're not going to go into that. That's like if you really like know about Dylan stuff. But I think you've heard enough about me talk about Bob Dylan, and you're probably sick of me. If you want to check the video. This is
honestly probably the best biopic I've ever seen, actually.
He's not wrong. Yeah. 10 out of 10 for me, but I'm biased. You?
I'll give it a 9. Yeah, it was good. It is no ordinary church movie. In fact, it's actually more of like a mystery thriller, like a political thriller that's probably going to piss some people off with its depiction of papacy in the court. Conclave itself means the assembly of cardinals for the election of a pope in the Roman Catholic Church.
Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow and Ralph Fiennes, of course. Ralph Fiennes plays the main character, Cardinal Lawrence, and he's just like he after the Holy Father dies, he's just supposed to walk around and like supervise this election of a pope. It doesn't go well because there's so much mystery and political scandal and everything. That it's kind of like a mystery, Anora, but like not as good as Anora. It's like written really well. Is that it kind of snakes and turns, and like there's lots of twists and turns, and like the plot is just like interesting because when you see what comes next, and you're always invested. You're always invested. Okay. Part of this movie, I was a bit forgettable because even though the plot was written very well, I feel like I've seen this movie somewhere else before, like was it an Agatha Christie novel or something like that. It felt like not the most original, but there is kind of a twist at the end that makes it like more original. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because it was still very entertaining. Obviously, this movie is a movie about the church and its affairs, and since it paints them in a rather messy, corrupt, or disorganized fashion, it's bound to make some people angry. Christian critics say it focuses too much on doubt and faith and embracing other beliefs rather than focus on Christ himself. It's also not supposedly what conclaves, which is the election, are really like in real life, portraying the church poorly when conclaves in the past have been taking action against rampant campaigning, if you can call it that. To break down to its roots, it's a movie about certainty versus doubt of one's religious faith, and about breaking down mysteries and corruptions within the Pope's inner circle in a suspenseful way. But this movie offers confusing views on how the Catholic Church actually works, is what they're saying. And even though I'm not religious, I feel like I have to say what they're saying to review this movie is what I was gonna say. Is the soundtrack was really good. I know that this completely flips from what I was just saying. For the soundtrack for this movie, this movie did not deserve to have that good a soundtrack, and it somehow did.
The part of human nature, and I think the movie does a really good job portraying how everyone has normal desires and ambitions.
I just feel like not everyone's gonna like this movie, not just because of the religious thing, because like I just feel like it's a bit forgettable after you like watch it. Like it didn't linger in my mind that long. Not saying it was bad again. It's just that to be taken away regardless of what you think about this movie and the themes that it has, which is a good thing, and that's what makes this movie special. And it was still enjoyable. I'm not sure if I'd watch it again on my own choice, but it definitely deserved to be nominated because it is pretty cool. 6.5 out of 10 for me.
I would say 7.5. Next up on our list is Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 is the second half of the first Dune book, which is split into two parts. And it's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who, out of all his movies, I actually am a huge fan of him, out of all the stuff I've seen. Paul Atreides, who is kind of like the chosen one. So there's a war between different houses, all competing over minerals and resources in the universe. Played by Timothée Chalamet, is on this planet with his mother, and they unite with the Fremen, who are like the native people of the planet, and they're trying to unite different clans of the world to take down the Empire. Like, I actually love this movie. I saw it like 3 times already. There were people saying before this movie came out that this could be like the next Star Wars, the next Lord of the Rings, because of just the sheer epicness of the type of story this is. And it's also it's a very complex story, a very dense story. All the things that were established in the first one pays off for sure in this one. This one has a lot more action as it reaches the climax of the story. There's a lot of themes about... I would say this one is better than the first one in every way, and definitely makes it more worthwhile, especially if you watch them back to back. You have like this huge 5-hour epic. Lord of the Rings, for example, where I feel like the good and bad guys were for the most part pretty clear cut, like you know which side people are on. Dune is a lot more complex, where there's different parties of people, kind of like Game of Thrones. Everyone was just trying to protect themselves and for their own interests. And, I really love the cinematography. I think there's so many shots in this movie, even in the first one, that shows a sense of scale. Like we were able to see this in IMAX when it came out.
So I haven't been saying much. I saw this movie a year ago, whenever it came out. He's the one that rewatched it. I didn't have time to rewatch it with him. I just remember it being really good, and the acting and our Reverend Mother as Rebecca Ferguson. Oh my god, and everything else, it was just put together really, really well. Rejecting what Quentin Tarantino says about it being an unnecessary remake, because there's so much invention and recreativity and innovation that you can do with a story that's been told between generations. And I just think that's really something really special what they created. And right now in my mind it's a 7 or 8 out of 10, but I have a feeling if I watched it, it'd definitely be a 9 or 10. I just need to rewatch it. That's why I let him do the talking.
Probably put it like an 8.7, I would say.
That's oddly specific.
Yeah. I was able to see the movie enough times.
Big worm. Yeah. Big worm.
I'll start off with the positives, even though there's not really much I have to say for that. Structure-wise and plot, the movie flows well. I mean, I think I don't really have any problems with that. Other than that, there's a lot that we have to say.
First of all, the concept of a mafia person getting a sex change, and then you meeting her children and her wife who thinks that they're dead and acting like nothing is wrong. I just feel like that's kind of weird. Because the whole movie, I'm sure you've heard a lot of stuff online about this movie, so I'm not going to try to reiterate everything that happened, everything that everyone's been saying, but I will reiterate some of the points because they are, accurate. Main character, who's played by Carla Sofia Gascon, has made a lot of, all bad, controversial tweets, and how the director of this Mexican movie that takes place in Mexico is, French, this French guy who, said that there weren't enough talented actors in Mexico. Jacques Arliard. Yeah. That this movie is a musical, which doesn't make any sense, because if you're trying to convey this message, first of all, you gotta have talented musicians, and all of the songs in this movie are bad. It's just them muttering. It's not them singing. It's they're sitting here no.
It's the person singing when you feel like they shouldn't be singing. It's they're whispering, and it just sounds so monotone. It doesn't it doesn't. I don't feel any melody or anything. And the one thing I will say is like Zoe Saldana. I think she does a really good job given what she has to work with here. But other than that,
but he's not wrong. Like toward the end of this movie, I was like, I want this to be over. I was checking the time. I was like, when is this gonna be over? This does not deserve to be an Oscar-nominated Best Picture.
Oscar nominations, almost as much as Lord of the Rings. Like seriously.
First of all, if you're talking about like foreign films, in the past ones that have been nominated this much, like Roma, how did this get more nominated than Roma?
Jumps around with what it wants to focus on. Does it want to focus on?
It doesn't know what it wants to be.
Is it a music? Does it want to be a musical about someone trying to get a sex change and how it's going to impact their life, or does it want to be about Mexican cartel violence? This movie tries to be all these things, and it just doesn't flow well.
If you're gonna deal with such a sensitive message like that, you got to like do it well and execute it properly, and it doesn't at all. It's just frustrating, honestly.
Dance scenes, I think, like the production design, there are some creative choices in that with the way, like the scene with when they're dancing on the dinner tables. Yeah. I think like there's some interesting stylistic choices there at the very least, and I feel like just being able to watch it the full thing through was a feat unto itself. You know? Yeah.
1 out of 10.
3 is good. It's a memoir written by Marcelo Rubens Pavia, and it tells a story about his mother, Eunice Pavia, who struggles to take care of her family. This is in the 1970s in Brazil, and at this time there was a brutal military dictatorship that was happening. A lot of it is the way it's filmed. It kind of feels like a home movie because everything feels very natural. It kind of shows in some ways like the family just going about their business every day.
It makes Brazil look so beautiful, especially in the 70s. Like, I just feel like the life in the family as they're dancing in the beginning, and there's just like music and everything like that, and it just feels so lively and homely, and
Very
like
authentic.
It's authentic, and it just feels like I want to visit Brazil. Obviously not at the time because there was a dictatorship at the time, military. Show what it likes, like the breakdown of the family dealing with this tragedy, and dealing with tragedy and loss, and just like accepting that through the years and everything like
also
that.
like
Without getting into too much.
especially in the lead actress's role. I forget who's the actress who plays Eunice.
Fernando Torres.
Yeah. I feel like it felt very realistic in the sense that like you could tell that she's struggling. She's just doing her best for her family, and like she could break down crying, but she never does, even though like one or two moments you feel like she probably has like off screen. But I feel like personally that felt very realistic, because I feel like trauma manifests itself in different ways for different people, especially with adults. And then a lot of times, like when you're living, you just have to like deal with that stuff and just keep moving on, keep moving forward. And especially because of the fact that this is based on a true story, it just made the whole film very touching.
I'm gonna go into minor spoilers real quick, because I wanted to say that like when Eunice, what's her name? Eunice. She gets the death certificate towards the end of the movie, and that's supposed to like be the closure. Yeah, it's never the closure, because it's like asking if time heals all wounds. And it's like, yes, time does heal all wounds, but maybe not. Some things are mysteries. Some things in the world are unexplainable, and the grief is a strange thing. Give it an 8 out of 10. You don't have to rate it now. I'm just giving my rating because I'm done talking.
I give it 8.5.
We're putting these. They're basically just like camps. I don't know how else to describe it. At this academy, that they're where these nickel boys were just basically just like abused, and it's a true story, and it's really really sad. But what this movie does that's cool is it's basically a first person movie. So like you're seeing it through like a video game, like personal, like you see like their hand moving and everything like that. Like it's a first person movie, and it does that really really well, and it plays to its strength. I mean, there's some limitations of filming a story like this, but maybe the fact that like you can't like show the whole surroundings and like, certain things, but they do it really well. And like some of the cinematography or shots that they have in this movie are just beautiful. Like it reminded me of like Kinds of Kindness too. Like when there's stuff where they're messing with oranges, tangerines, whatever you call them, just like peeling an orange or like squeezing it. It was just like a simple shot of something just so mundane, and they just film it like it's just like some of the shots in here. I was like, wow, what? Like the cinematography and the way they shot it is just beautiful, and it's really a heartbreaking story too. Sorry, you can talk.
Deals a lot with Jim Crow laws and segregation in the South, and that's always going to be a relevant issue to talk about. What's interesting is how this movie shows the eyes of the people that you show. They really, I mean, no one deserves to go through the things that the people in this movie go through, but also
The acting's good. It's just hard to see people's faces because like it's through the first person thing. But it is good. Kind of like I'm Still Here. It takes like a relatively unfound, unknown story and really fleshes it out and brings it to life, and as a true story, in a film. And I think it does that really well. I don't know. It was an interesting way to film a movie, but like it was a bit forgettable in terms of like the T minus whatever, how long it stayed in my head after watching. Yeah, compared to some of the other movies like The Brutalist, I feel it doesn't hold up as strong. But that's not to like diss it, because they did a really good job making this movie, and you can feel like that they had, like they wanted to tell the story. So, and they did it well. I give it a 7 out of 10.
same here.
Substance is just as well green. Like, what do you get in the bottle? And Demi Moore is like this fashion queen that's like, hey, I'm a fashion queen. No, what is it? She owns like this TV show where you do workouts or whatever, and she's part of it. But now she's getting a bit older, and now they don't want her anymore. And now she's got pressure on her back because she's not as beautiful anymore, and she thinks she really gets in her head about it. So then this thing comes in the mail where you can I don't even know how to describe this stuff. This is a body horror movie. There's a lot of nudity in this movie, so you should know that just going in. But it's not like, it's just like it's disturbing nudity. It's like the entire movie is just like It's just like, I mean, someone might watch this and think this is awesome, but it's definitely not for everyone, because even though it's got a really good message, sitting through the 2.5 hours of the substance, how long it was very disturbing. But like, I guess that's what the point. And the one thing is they use practicals for all of like the what do they call it, the prosthetics that they put on your face and stuff, especially for the ending. And Margaret Qualley did that, and they got all on her face and like messed up her face, which is like the dedication. She got snubbed. Like, I know Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley kind of like both were integral parts of this movie, and Demi Moore got nominated and Margaret Qualley didn't. Maybe that's because Margaret Qualley was a bit younger and they didn't like want to like give her the nomination immediately when she's newer to the film scene. But she definitely deserved like a nomination, because especially for putting all those prosthetics on, like walking around on a giant like glob monster. I'm sure you've seen pictures of the movie and you're like, what's that? But like it's not even so much a spoiler, because it's just, you don't understand what leads to that, you know?
This movie has kind of like a Fountain of Youth kind of theme, the storyline. In that sense, you're able to relate to Demi Moore's. You can understand Demi Moore's character in the beginning, like even with the way that she's just like, she doesn't have a lot of speaking lines in the movie, but she depicts her performance like perfectly. You could just see her.
A lot of this movie, the actors like Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, they were alone. They had nothing to work off of, and they were like naked half the time, which is a vulnerable thing. So them just acting, they're just standing there with no one to talk to and just like looking in a mirror and doing all this stuff and getting angry, like it's I just imagine it would be very hard, and I imagine that's why Demi Moore got nominated, because even though it's so late into her career, she got this bonkers script on her table, and she just has to just like act her heart out because she's alone in a room. And I think that's what makes it, part of what makes this movie special, because even I know the part of it is the cool like their blood and guts and everything like that, but like it's blood and guts with a message.
Dang. That we're all mortal and we're all gonna get old at some point. Yeah.
Give this like a 9 out of 10.
I agree.
Wicked, the musical. That is a musical, but now it's a movie.
This is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz and tells the story of the witches, the good one and the bad one. But she's not really bad yet, as we're not really like theater kids. I mean, kinda, but not really. So
one play.
Yeah, this is based on the musical Wicked, which came out in 2003. This type of movie isn't exactly my cup of tea, but I would say I actually enjoyed myself quite a bit. I would say this movie mostly lives up to my expectations. I think like this is another instance where they take a story and then they split it into two parts, instead of like Dune, where there's a lot of extra material they could have like fleshed out. They end up like putting all this extra stuff that probably wasn't as much in the source material, but then they use it to just pad the runtime. And that's one thing I feel like personally this movie suffered a little bit.
What I have to say, because this is a two-parter of a larger story, this is the first part. It does like the first act of the two-parter story takes up like 2/3 of this movie because it's a two-parter story. But because of that, it drags for so long because they fill in so many other things. Again, I haven't seen the musical, so I don't know. But it just adds like the part where they're at school, the school magic, whatever it is, it just takes like forever. Like there's with this Prince Charming guy dancing on tables and stuff, and it's just kind of like
second act kind of slow.
I didn't. Once they got to the Oz and all that stuff, I started picking up. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. The music was pretty good though, like because the people singing did have talent and singing. Unlike Emilia Pérez, I wasn't like the biggest fan of the music anyways, but I can tell that it was put together and composed really good, and it's obviously an established musical already. So like it's not like it's just making up new songs. Know about the animals? There was like some plot device about like animals being harmed and like being taken away from society, talking animals or whatever. And I just thought it was kind of goofy. I guess it is part of. I don't know if it's part of the musical or not. Is it?
Well, I honestly wouldn't be the right person to ask about that. We see the catalyst, like the start of her, what turns her evil. But personally, I feel like maybe there could have been more with that. Like I feel like the stakes for her turning evil should have been a little more personal. Even if like I think the reasons like kind of there's some stuff about like the animals being abused, and that is a good reason for her to get angry, but could have been done better in the movie to like show her turn to evil.
Jeff Goldblum anyways, and he just plays himself. He doesn't come into too kind of later in the movie, but he kind of like Asgard. He plays the same character as in Thor Ragnarok. He is the same character. He's just a guy who controls the kingdom, and he just like makes jokes and talks like Jeff Goldblum. He's eccentric. He's just amazing.
The beginning, you could kind of see Golinda, even though like she's the good witch, and in the end, she like she was kind of like a spoiled rich queen, like kind of like the little section of the movie where it's like a high school drama.
It really felt like a high school drama.
Yeah. But I do like how they do make you feel bad for Elphaba, and like you do see both sides of it.
And they make you like Galinda, like the Ariana Grande's character. They make you.
They're both likable protagonists, and then It's hard. There's still a big chunk of the story I'm still waiting to see, but it's hard to see her from where she is now to turn into the Wicked Witch that we already know. Like, I'll get you, my pretty. So, but yeah.
If you're a theater kid, you're gonna love this movie, and if you're not a theater kid, you're still gonna enjoy the movie. It's just not gonna be as glamorous, I feel like.
7 out of 10 for me.
Say 6 out of 10. Not a best picture, but it got like 4 nominations.
This is Robert Eggers' 4th movie, and I think he's a brilliant filmmaker, just like the last couple things he's made, like The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman. So it's kind of, so Nosferatu is kind of like a different take on like the typical vampire story, kind of like Dracula. It's based off, this is a remake of a silent movie that came out in 1922, over 100 years ago. Their performances, Bill Skarsgård, who also played Pennywise. Another thing is like the atmosphere is so amazing. Like the cinematography, you just feel like I just felt like so tense, like just watching this. I mean, like more just like creeped out. And I think this movie did a really great job at it. And something I don't always feel with a lot of movies, even horror movies, that they don't always they'll go for like cheap scares or, just like blood and stuff.
Just the way people talk in like the 1800s in like Germany and this little town is just like so cool. Mm-hmm. Just like the outfits. Like if this movie wins anything, I'll say like 8 out of 10.
I'd give it 9 out of 10.